Hello everyone and welcome to this lecture. My name is Biho Yusuf Saliu and today we'll be talking about the basic concepts of immunology and history. So the course will be introduced properly. We are going to know the definition of immunology. We'll talk about the historical development of immunology, then talk about the functions of the immune system. We'll move on to the components of the immune system and we are going to talk about the importance of immunology. By the end of this lecture, you should be able to define what immunology is. You should be able to talk about the importance of immunology. You should be able to describe the key functions of the immune system, identify the major components of the immune system, and also be able to talk about the history of immunology. Think of immunology like a superhero story where you get to learn how the body fights off infections. You get to learn how the body protects itself from infection. Then you get to learn how vaccines works, how vaccines protect us from infections. Okay, you get to learn how the body recognizes a particular particle as foreign, how the body recognizes what is foreign and what is self. When I say self, I mean what belongs to the body and what doesn't belong to the body. Okay, so basically in this study, we want to talk about how the immune cells functions, how the body protects us from infections, from germs, from foreign entities. So think of our immune system as an incredible team that is made up of different cells and proteins that works together. Each of these cells and proteins have special jobs, like scouts looking out for trouble. Okay, we have some cells that will move around the body to look out for foreign substances. Okay, so we have some that are going to fight off the invaders. Oh, okay, so I call these ones soldiers. You know, the soldiers fight off invaders. Then we have the memory keepers that remember past enemies to protect us better in the future. What I mean by this is once the body has been attacked by a particular infection, the body is going to create some kind of memory about that particular infection so that in the future when the infection is coming back again, then the body already know how to suppress that particular infection. So that is what I mean by memory keepers. So our body or our immune system have a way of keeping memory about a particular disease or infection that has been fought before, so that when that particular infection is coming back, the body is already ready. The body already knows how to tackle it. So for instance now, there are some people that only had Apollo once in their life. There are people like that. And some will even tell you that when they had the Apollo, it didn't take long for it to be cured. So for people that only had it once, it's not like they are not coming in contact with it again. They might be coming in contact with it again, but their body already recognize it and it already knows how to fight off that particular Apollo. So the body is already ready. It has memory that okay, this thing has happened before. So they already built some kind of defense against that particular Apollo. Okay, so what is immunology? Immunology is the study of the body's defense system, that is the immune system. It is the study of the immune system. It focuses on how the body recognizes and fights infections. Okay, so it is a natural defense of the body against any foreign entities. And when you say foreign entities could be microorganism, it could be dust particles, it could be pollen grains, it could be cancer cells, tumor cells, etc. Okay. In ancient time, long before modern medicine, people in China and India discovered that a person could be protected from smallpox through a practice called variolation. They would take dried scabs or fluid from someone with a mild case of smallpox and introduce it into the skin or nose of a healthy person. Although the risk was very high, but if the person could survive, they were usually protected from severe smallpox. So this was humanity's first attempt at controlled immunity. In the 18th century, a man called Edward Jenner discovered that or noticed that milkmaids who had caught cowpox, which is a harmless disease in humans, never became ill with smallpox. To test this, he took material from a cowpox sore and carefully scratched it into the skin of a young boy's arm. Although the boy later developed mild sickness, but when the boy was exposed to smallpox, he did not get sick. So this was the first scientific demonstration of a vaccine, and it changed medicine forever. Then in the 19th century, another man who was named Louis Pasteur discovered that when you inject attenuated anthrax vaccine, attenuated attenuated anthrax bacilli into the body is protected from anthrax disease. What is attenuation? Attenuation is the knockoff, let me put it that way. It's just something like you knock off the pathogenic property of a particular foreign substance, or let me say of a particular microbes. Okay, for a particular thing or a particular substance to be considered foreign, it has to be antigenic. That is, it has the ability to stimulate immune response, or pathogenic, that is the ability to cause disease. Okay, so this attenuation is the weakening of that particular microbes. That is, you remove the pathogenic property of the microorganisms. Okay, so um when you inject that particular microbes into the body, then it serves as a kind of protection against the disease that that particular microorganism can cause. Okay, and this attenuation is carried out in three ways. We have the physical treatment, that is the use of temperature, like cold treatment, and this has been used for influenza virus. Then we have the chemical treatment, that which is the use of mutagenic substance, that is the substances that can induce mutation, and this has also been used in salmonella typing. Also, we have the biological treatment, which is the serial passage in a culture system. The type of treatment as I mean this type of treatment has also been used for polio viruses. Okay. Okay, so we have Robert Koch that demonstrated how specific microbes could be linked to specific diseases, which lays the foundation for modern microbiology and experimental immunology. Then in the 20th century onward, immunology grew into a modern scientific discipline. Researchers discovered antibodies and immune cells, which explain how the body recognizes and destroys invaders. Modern vaccines were developed for diseases like polio and measles, saving millions of lives. New laboratory techniques such as immunoassays allowed quick diagnosis of infections, and transplantation science emerged from the understanding of how the immune system distinguish itself from non-self. From ancient violation to Jenner's simple cowpox scratch to pasture vaccines and the sophisticated immunology of today. This history shows how human curiosity, courage, and science have worked together to fight disease and protect human life. So, what are the key functions of the immune system? Okay, the immune system defends the body, that is, it protects against infections from bacteria, viruses, fungi, and even parasites. Okay, so they act as surveillance, they detect and destroy abnormal or cancerous cells. They act as homeostasis, that is, they remove worn out or damaged cells and tissue, and also they remember. I've already mentioned this. They have memory, they keep memory of any infection or any past infections, and they now respond faster and stronger when next that particular infection comes again. Okay, so I would like you to think of your immune system as the military force of your body. Okay, you know, they defend. That is, the defense is like soldiers on the front line. They fight against invaders such as bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites. Okay, they also survey, just like the intelligence officer who is always on patrol, watching out for abnormal or dangerous cells like cancer cells and eliminate them before they cause harm. Okay, then they serve as homeostasis, which is like clean up and repair crew, removing damage or old cells, so just as the army clears debris to keep its base safe and functional. Okay, so it means that we have some cells that defend, we have some that survey. Those that survey, they will detect the abnormal cells, the cancerous cells. They are going to present it. There's a way that works, but we'll still get there. We'll still get there. But basically, know that the key functions of the immune system is defending, surveying, homeostasis, and also building memory. Okay, so we have four different components of immune system. We have the cells, we have organs, we have molecules, and we have barriers. Okay, the cells are majorly the white blood cells, which is also known as leukocytes. Okay, and these leukocytes are are made up of, or they consist of, the lymphocytes, the phagocytes, and others as well. So these lymphocytes are the body's main defense cells. They are the body's main defense cells. Under the lymphocytes, we have the T and the B cells. That is the T and the B lymphocytes. Then we have the natural killer cells. Okay. The B lymphocytes are the ones that produces antibodies that recognize and neutralize invading germs. While the T lymphocytes have different roles depending on the type. That is, the T lymphocyte is made up of two. We have the helper T cells, which coordinate the immune response, and we have the cytotoxic T cells that kill infected or abnormal cells. So together you can say the T lymphocyte coordinates the immune response and also kill infected or abnormal cells. So when you say this, we already know you have combined the two T cells, that is the helper T cells and the cytotoxic T cells. I hope I'm making sense. Okay, so then we have the natural killer cells that act quickly to destroy virus infected or cancerous cells. without prior exposures. We have other white blood cells, such as the phagocytes. From the name, phagocytes, they are phagocytic cells that engulf microbes, break them down, and present the fragments or their fragments to the lymphocytes. They engulf the microbes, they break them down and present their fragment to the lymphocyte. Okay. So secondly, we have the organs. So we have the primary lymphoid organ and we have the secondary lymphoid organ. The primary lymphoid organ are the bone marrow and the thymus. Okay, the bone marrow is where all B cells are produced and B cells mature. Or is where all blood cells, sorry, is where all blood cells are produced and B cells mature. Then we have the thymus where T cells mature. I hope you get that scared. The organs is made up of the primary lymphoid organ and the secondary lymphoid organ. The primary lymphoid organ is where, it consists of the bone marrow where all blood cells are produced and B cells mature. Then we have the thymus as well as part of the primary lymphoid organ where T cells mature. Then we have the secondary lymphoid organs, which include the lymph nodes, the spleen, and tonsils. These are the meeting points where immune cells encounter antigens and mount response. It is the meeting point where immune cells encounter antigens and mount response. And thirdly, we have the molecules, which include the antibodies, which are proteins made by B cells. I've already mentioned that the B cells produces antibodies. Okay, so the antibodies is a part of protein. Is a part of protein. Okay, so the molecules, these include antibodies, which are proteins made by B cells that specifically recognize pathogens. Okay, then we have the cytokines, which are chemical messengers that allow immune cells to communicate. They are chemical messengers that allow immune cells to communicate. Then we have the complement system as well, which is a group of protein that help destroy microbes directly, or they can mark them for destruction. Okay, so I'll just take that again briefly. The molecules include proteins. Sorry, the molecules include antibodies. They include antibodies, and these antibodies are protein. It includes cytokines as well, which are the chemical messengers. Okay, it also includes complement system, which is also a protein, but now a group of protein that can destroy microbes directly, or they can mark the microbe for destruction. Okay, so finally we have the barrier, and this barrier are the body's first line of defense. The barriers include the skin which provide the physical shield, like that, just normal the skin, or just the normal skin. Okay, it provide a physical shield because this skin contains, has low pH. It has low pH. It produces keratinase. A substance known as keratinase as well, and it is slightly acidic. So all of these properties actually protect us from microorganisms, but we'll still discuss this further as the lecture goes on. Okay, so we have the skin as a first line of defense, the skin, which provide physical shield, while we have the mucous membrane, which trap microbes. Then we have secretions such as the saliva, the tears, and stomach acid that contain chemicals that kill or weaken pathogens before they can cause harm. Okay, so when we I think our next lecture will be talking about the adaptive and the innate immunity. So when we get there, we'll talk more about all of these barriers. Okay, so all together, these components work in harmony to protect the body from infection and maintain health. Okay, so how all of this protect the body, we'll discuss it further. Okay, so another way that I can also explain this part for you to be able to understand is also to use this military settings. I always like using this military settings for explanation. Okay, so when talking about that, we can just say your cells are like the soldiers, where you have the white blood cells um, acting as the fighter that attack the invaders. Okay, then you have your organs like a training camp and command center that where the bone marrow and the thymus while the bone marrow and the thymus are where the new soldiers are trained. Okay, then we can say the lymph nodes, the spleen and toxins are like the checkpoints where battles often take place. Then the molecules are now the weapons. The molecules are the weapons that help to mark enemies or sometimes call for reinforcement or kill them directly. Okay, and then we can say the barrier is like the fortress wall. Okay, so I hope this makes you understand this better. So immunology is important because it protects us against diseases caused by microorganisms. And without immune system, even a small infection could become deadly. And it is also the basis for vaccine and public health problems, which have saved millions of lives by preventing outbreak of diseases such as measles, polio, and smallpox. Beyond infections, immunology plays a role in many areas of medicine. It helps us understand and treat allergies, autoimmune diseases such as diabetes and arthritis, and is even essential in the success of organ transplantation by preventing rejection. And even most recently, immunology has opened the door to cancer therapies such as immunotherapy, which trains the immune system to recognize and attack cancer cells. In short, immunology is not only about fighting germs, it is the art of modern medicine and human survival. Immunology began with curiosity, with people asking why some got sick while others stayed healthy, or how protection could last after an illness. Today, those questions have led to vaccines, treatment for allergies and autoimmune diseases, and organ transplantation, and even cancer immunotherapy. So, as we look at the future, the same spirit of discovery will continue to shape human health. So, I will leave you with this question. If curiosity gave birth to immunology, how can today's discoveries shape the health of generations to come? So I'll be expecting your reply in the comment section. Then also I'll drop a link to a form where you are going to click to um to answer some questions. It's a kind of assessment. So I would like to know whether you actually understand everything that has been discussed so far. So I'll drop the link, click the link and do the assessment. See you in our next class. Thank you.